Hello, I'm Shalagna. Today we have Parul Gupta with us, who is the co-founder of Springboard, and she's joining us straight from California. Hi, Parul. A very warm welcome to you. Today we'll be talking a little about your experiences, your journey. So, if you can just tell us a little about yourself and what were your days like back in IIT?
Yeah, thank you for the welcome, Shalagna, and also for having me on here, because I have very, very pleasant memories from my time at IIT Bombay, and it's always a pleasure to reconnect with the community in some way. So I graduated with a BTech in electrical engineering back in 2002. So I was there. I spent 4 lovely years, 1998 to 2002. And obviously the world used to be very different back then. Not everybody had computers or laptops or even internet in their rooms. I hear it's very different now. But yeah, I spent a lot of wonderful years just spending not only time with people in my department and working on pretty cool projects in electrical engineering, but also extracurriculars. So I was a part of Mood Indigo, Tech Fest, a lot of Institute GC events. So yeah, have very pleasant memories from there. And now I head a company called Springboard. We are headquartered in San Francisco. We also have a presence in Bangalore, where our engineering office is. And we offer online courses or boot camps to help people break into these in-demand, fast-growing tech careers. Especially, at IIT, we are in the nation's best institute and we have the top technology education, and we have a path to a career in tech, but many people don't even know what these careers are about and how to break into them. And we help them break into careers like software engineering, machine learning, data science, user interface design, etc., and also cybersecurity.
So do you cater around the globe, or you have any specific markets where you cater?
So today, majority of our students are from North America. So that's US and Canada, almost 85-90%, I would say. But over the years, we've had a long tail of over 20,000 students from over 100 countries in the world. So we've had a global population as well, but predominantly North America.
Great. So, Parul, so as you've been closely associated with this online platform, I just wanted to understand, what is your take on online education, if I have to put it that way? Because right now everything is being delivered online. So, when I was a student or anybody of my age, like we've always seen everything being done offline, or maybe maximum it was a 90-10 or a 80-20 mix. Everything online, it's very new. It's just, everything changed last year. And so just wanted to understand, what is your take on that?
That's a great question, Shalagna. And also last year, as you mentioned, has really accelerated the move to online. We were all forced to kind of experience with that medium. My take is that online has its place. It can bring a lot of power to learning experience, but it's not necessarily the answer to everything. So there, in the life cycle, if you think of cradle to grave, from early childhood to continuing lifelong learning for professionals, there are some places where online works well and some places it doesn't. And to break it down at a high level, and then I'll focus into the college and higher journey, which I believe is the audience for this video. At a high level, I believe that in the early years, when a lot of we are doing early childhood education, kids are developing not only technical skills or alphabet and literacy and numeracy, but also social skills, how to interact with their peers, how to manage their own emotions. I think in person is very, very essential. It cannot be replaced. But as learners mature and in adult education, whether it's at college level or beyond, online can be much more powerful, because at that stage also there is value to flexibility, the value to doing it at your own time and when you learn best. Every learner is unique and they learn differently at different paces, at different times, in different environments. So online can enable a lot of that personalization and meeting the learner where they are, rather than giving a one size fits all and kind of a cookie cutter model of education where a lecturer is talking at a class of 60 students regardless of where they are.
So what do you think would be the future of online education? So will there be a hybrid format going forward, or will this format of online education, will it be continued?
Very much. So I think online will continue to have a place, and the answer will be hybrid. So if you want to take the best of both worlds and merge them into kind of a sum that's greater than its parts. And specifically, if we talk about college education, there are quite a few players who are innovating on this model, which have done great work. So my vision is particularly that for soft skills, or again, my experience at IIT, a big part of it was working on extracurriculars, learning how to work with my peers and leadership and collaboration and the more nuanced problem solving. That still will have to be in person. And more technical skills or more kind of intellectual and hard skills where you need to absorb it at your own time, work on projects, and you need a little more personalization. That's where the value of online can be really powerful. So yes, the future is definitely going to be hybrid. One more thing I'll add is that to my earlier point of learners being unique and different people learn differently, even we have seen that across the learner spectrum, some people really prefer to learn on their own. They're self-learners. Others are social learners, where it's really important for them to have that community, that energy, that kind of inspiration that comes from an in-person environment. So even this vision of a hybrid future, it might, where you are on that spectrum of hybrid, might really depend on the learner preferences.
So now I come to a very important question, which is how to deal with fatigues. So when you are in front of the screen, when you actually need to be in front of the screen, rather, if I have to put it that way, like for 20 hours or maybe a little more than 20 hours, because you have to finish all the coursework which is there. You have to finish all the everything which is there in the schedule, which is very hectic and crazy. So how to deal with those fatigues? Because for me, if I am there in front of the screen just for 4 hours maybe, or maybe 3 hours, I have to take a break. I just cannot it cannot be a continuous process for me. I have to take a break. So if you have any tools and techniques that you can suggest which students can maybe use to deal with fatigues.
So definitely taking breaks is a very, very good place to start, Shalagna. And again, depends on if you go from the more tactical, like what tools and systems and processes to set to enable you to spend out, get through your screen time, to more strategic of how do you structure, what parts do you keep online versus not. I'll talk about both of those. So in the tactical, I think right from things like, just having an ergonomic work setup, having the right distance so your strain is minimized, your lighting, your desk setup, even sitting on a chair for a long time, if you don't have the right posture, can be very exhausting. So just making sure that the work setup is ergonomic and is designed to minimize strain. That's the simplest thing that you can do. And then taking breaks, not only looking away every few 10-15 minutes, but just getting up, taking a walk. And also there are Pomodoro techniques, and again, depends on whether it works better for some people than it works for others. But if that's something that for students, I would encourage them to try. And if it works for them, just work either in 25-minute chunks or 50-minute chunks, take a break every while. That's good. And then on the other extreme, for educators and for learners, I would really urge or encourage everybody to think about what parts of the learning really have to be online versus in terms of a screen, or what can be taken offline. So for example, do you really need to lecture in a live setting all the time? So that's if for example, I think about my own IIT days, we would be in classes maybe 8 to 12, 4 hours non-stop, pretty much. if somebody's staring at a screen for that period of time, it is going to get exhausting. So can we imagine a different way where we don't have those long stretches? Can we break it down to smaller chunks? Can we give people like the flipped classroom model, where videos are available as recorded and they can watch it when they are most productive rather than doing these long stretches? So yeah, there's also some element of learning design for online that needs to be different than it used to be in an in-person setting.
So before we part ways, if you have any message for the students of IIT Bombay?
I would just say, Shulagna, even in this brief conversation, I'm sensing some pain, and the online learning and COVID have been really draining for students, and there must be some fatigue. The last year has been very difficult for many of us around the world. And it's not only, there's been so much uncertainty, so many concerns about health, our families, and even just adapting to change as a very different world. So my only message would be that I empathize that it's been very, very hard. Hang in there, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. We are almost rounding the corner and coming out on the other side. And if anything, every challenge or every difficult period is a growth opportunity. So looking back, you'll have fun stories to tell, and you'll have many experiences that would have stretched you and helped you grow. So just hang in there and try to take every challenge as an opportunity.
Thank you so much, Parul. Thank you so much for your time.